Thanks for joining this episode of The Blade Boys, and my name is Ted Flett.
And my name is Myth Das.
Today we're going to debrief the pairs event of the Grand Prix series and set up the final. So Myth, really it sort of boiled down to two teams, the Germans and the new German team, and Canadian world champions Duhamel and Radford in terms of being the real front runners from results. But neither has necessarily dominated and broken through and really shown their best. It looks like it's going to be sort of a slow, gradual development and evolution towards the World Championships. And of course, withdrawals have meant that Stolbova and Klimov, or injuries have meant Stolbova and Klimov, Sui and Han have been out of the mix thus far in the season. So some question marks there.
Yeah.
How do you break it down? What do you think of Duhamel, Radford, and the Germans?
Okay, so I think pairs this year has been a little bit of a letdown in the Grand Prix series. You definitely had deserved wins by Savchenko and Mousseau, who are pulling out of the Grand Prix Final due to injury on her, and also Duhamel and Radford. They also won their events, but they never really won their events particularly convincingly. And they had some nice highlights. For example, their short programs in the first Grand Prix series where they throw triple axles that. This is the first time we're seeing throw triple axles in the short program because you need to throw triple jump, and technically a triple axle is 3.5, but it still counts as a triple jump. So I think it's actually an undermarked element also in pairs, and they should be crediting it a lot more. Same thing with the quad, but I guess it also keeps things tighter as well among the pairs. But it's weird when a really well done throw triple loop and a 2-footed throw triple axle are kind of worth the same, even though the second one is way harder to land. But that being said, they will hopefully bring better programs in the rest of the season. I think Duhamel and Radford have made some really good improvements artistically speaking. Their long program I'm not a huge fan of, but their short program I really, really enjoy. And I think it showcases their strengths as usual. It's just their long program, they haven't been able to... It's kind of like last season where they didn't really get it together until Worlds, so you never really saw the potential in the program until it was performed at its peak, which hopefully they'll do again this year. It's better to have a really shaky Grand Prix series. Shaky 2 gold medals. Right? Than to... And then peak later on at 4 continents, which hopefully they will be healthy for, and for Worlds. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Duhamel and Radford have the rest of the season. And Savchenko and Mousseau, I hope they recover, because now it's kind of like the Grand Prix Final is so who's playing for silver and bronze? There could be surprises. We'll talk about some of the other teams that are doing well. Some of them surprisingly well. But yeah, with Savchenko and Mousseau withdrawing from the Grand Prix Final, it kind of makes it actually eases the pressure off of Duhamel and Radford, I think.
Which I'm not sure is a good thing.
They didn't have pressure in their first 2 events either.
So this is it. So I wonder if they need a bit of competition hot on their heels to really push through. Where I'm sort of not concerned. We as fans, we haven't necessarily been blown away by the level of pair skating in the Grand Prix series. The caliber is all there, the abilities are all there, it just hasn't necessarily come through.
Right.
But I'm not necessarily concerned in terms of, for example, Duhamel Radford's ability to still defend the World Championships and to get it together and to evolve, because they learned so much from last season that you don't have to win, you don't have to blast through and dominate significantly all season long in order to defend your World Championship. So this, although last season I think was a huge growth season for them as defending World Champions and being the World Champions and all of the stress and sort of expectation that accompanies that, they're more understanding of that, or they're more familiar with it, and now they're 2-time world champions. So that's new territory, but they have the experience of being, one time, the season after being a world champions, to sort of to swallow that medal or accept its, all the consequences that come with it. I did like in Skate Canada, similar to you. I thought their short program was fantastic.
Yeah.
She had the slightest graze down on her free leg on the throw triple axle, but hey, landed element, that's great. Huge, boost in terms of a breakthrough there.
Mm-hmm.
And another step in terms of a very different sort of direction, and very different artistic direction for this team. I think Seal is, and the opening few elements of the music to Seal are unique.
Yeah.
There's no lyrics at the beginning. It's sort of haunting and uncertain as to what exactly this music is. And their long program music has a really strong message around, je ne regrette, I don't regret, or I have nothing to regret, which I think they can really cling to in terms of the direction that they've taken in the sport. And I think, having been to Skate Canada, and I watched them in practice live. It helps to see it live as opposed to on TV. I will say that. I thought, you really get it's such a soulful, different approach for them.
Mm-hmm.
And when the drums start and they do sort of they weave up the ice and do footwork into their side-by-side triple toe loops, I get chills. I got chills when I saw it in Mississauga, and then I've gotten chills every time I see it on TV. So if you're in the stadium observing it firsthand, I think it makes a bit of a difference.
Yeah, and it's true. Seeing events live versus seeing them on online streaming or YouTube after the fact, there is you can't see certain things on a camera that you see live, like skater speed, the actual kind of aura that they create for the audience as well. Like their short program brought the house down, and I love that seal number. But that long program, it is one of those things that starts a little bit haunting, and then it kind of builds. The problem is when you make technical errors, it's hard to sort of see how beautiful a program can be. But I think that was also the case with, for example, Sobov and Klimov's long program last year, where they had some issues on their Grand Prix, but when they brought it to the Grand Prix Final and they skated it almost to perfection, that it showed the potential of the program. And I'm hoping that Duhamel and Radford have a similar moment at the Grand Prix Final. I don't know if they I know they'll go all out, right? You can't do it halfway and do a throw quad. Which, by the way, they still landed they've landed some elements that their side by side triple L's are giving them a little bit of difficulty, but their quad and their throw triple axel, which is new, they're making some strides. And come the Grand Prix Final, I think they'll be prepared to show people, hey, this is what we've got. But we'll have to see. It's a little disappointing that Savchenko and Musso couldn't be there to give them a run for their money. But who knows what can happen? We have a lot of other great teams.
And particularly unfortunate for Savchenko and Musso because they just don't have the same kind of experience underneath their belts that Duhamel Radford had. I think Savchenko and Musso needed a stronger start of the season than they ended up having.
Mm-hmm.
I think attempting the throw quad as the last element in the long program is
super
a fascinating strategy. And when I first saw it, I thought, that's crazy. That's ridiculous.
It's
then the flip side is if you don't land the quad. So for example, when Megan didn't just go down, but did a bit of a Bambi leg on her quad landing at Skate Canada, that can plague the rest of the program and probably eat away at you. So if they attempt it last, whatever happens, it's not going to carry them through the rest of the program. But obviously, you got to think they're landing on a tired leg. So I guess hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be able to show up at Europeans and skate something stronger.
Because that is a huge, that is the biggest risk.
Yep.
Aliona Savchenko, I'm going to call her, she's the Hail Mary skater, because at the end of her programs, her Olympic program, she'll be like, Robin, I think we should just go for the triple axel? And it's like, all right. Sure, I'm not the one who has to land it. So, girl, if you want to go for it, I'm going to throw you. But it's all on you at that point. So it's so I feel like she's, and I love that competitive spirit of her.
Totally. And
I don't know if it's the best strategy though, because it's literally the final thing that the judges see. So it's I like it because it's kind of badass because it takes a lot of chutzpah to do that. But I mean, you got to give it up to Aliona. But I don't know, maybe put a paraspin after that or something, a nice little death spiral or something to finish the program on a positive note with a clean element.
So other teams to watch.
Yes.
Who are you looking for?
So remember at the beginning of the season we were talking about China and we were like, what the hell are they doing?
Yeah.
China.
Well, apparently they know what they're doing.
Apparently, I don't know. They might have some history in pairs that they actually know what they're doing. So, Yu Xiaoyu and Hao Zhang and Chang Peng and Yang Jin were like, the wife swap, husband swap team of the season, and everyone was wondering how that would sort of play out in terms of like the Grand Prix. They're going to be like, who's going to be the better one? A lot of people thought only one of them would make it, and it was just one of those weird like, well, we'll see which one makes it. I mean, we didn't expect things like withdrawals and things like so, but they still ranked as the third and fourth team, so they would have been in the final no matter like what had happened.
Absolutely.
Really. So, and now I guess they're the second and third ranked team with Shevchenko and Rousseau pulling out. So this is really fascinating because it's kind of like they've created two different teams and they created two different sets of packaging as well. They didn't just do a partner swap. Like, there was clearly a lot more thought behind this than I thought. Like, I think and a lot of us might have initially thought that the Chinese Federation was like, well, this isn't working. We need to, like, mix things up. Like, and literally mix things up. And it just seemed like a random switcheroo. But it's actually worked out well. I absolutely love Chang Peng in their short program.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that quirky little...
So playful.
It's so weird. Like, Chinese teams, their artistry is developed over the years, but you don't really get a sense of quirkiness from them. I mean, Sui and Han, they kind of had a cuteness thing with their little cowboy number and, like, their Charlie Chaplin thing. But, like, you don't really get a sense of, like, everything seems very classic lines, very, like, we're trying to, like, they're out to do their job. Mm-hmm. And it's very fun to see a more playful side of, like, I didn't even know Chang Peng had that in her. Like, from last season, I'm like, where does like coquettish little vixen come from? Like, totally. I gotta give it up to her, especially because I haven't seen a whole lot of female pair skaters who go from kind of just, I don't want to say basic,
but looking like, a bit robotic,
a little bit robotic,
really coming out of her shell,
yeah.
Showing great personality. Yeah,
and
I agree.
And on the flip side as well with Yu Xiaoyu and Hao Zhang, I think she is like absolutely mesmerizing. With their spirit dance program she had with Yang Jin last year, like that's when you sort of got to see her artistic potential. But I think she has the potential to be one of the best artistic Chinese pair skaters of all time. I mean,
she's so delicate. I think my biggest concern for her is, I mean, they have a very short period of time to capitalize on Olympic glory because I don't know that Hao Zhang has another 4 years.
I don't know if he has.
He's already a bit long in the tooth.
You know what? Like, remember when he competed in the 2006 Olympics?
Oh, do I ever?
Like a decade ago with.
I mean, he's an Olympic silver medalist. The guy's got absolute credentials, so I give him full props. I just, it's probably better that they have a slight edge over the other team in the absence of Sui and Han because they have a shorter runtime, I think, than the other teams.
But they made both of those teams have made a statement this year. You know who they are now? They're like the Duhamel and Radford, Towers Moscovich.
Yeah.
Right, from a couple years ago, where they're the bronze contenders. They're waiting in the wings. Yep. They're getting those 5th and 6th place world finishes. They're making the Grand Prix final. They're winning Grand Prix medals. They're showing solid consistency, and they're bringing kind of a freshness that with top teams you expect more serious, more mature pieces that kind of show off their artistry, but. It's always nice when you have a fun, fresh, and bubbly team, as you see with both Chinese pairs. And I absolutely love their programs as well. They've kudos to you, China. Like, you proved me wrong. Like, you made me eat my words because because you guys did a great job at just kind of reinventing these two teams and these 4 skaters to make 2 world-class teams in the course of an off season. That's absolutely, because you have different sets of unison, you have different sets of communication between the pairs when they train together.
I think they've both been taught that Chinese approach through Hong Guozhao now, and so it was probably an easier transition than you might see otherwise. But yeah, tremendous. I think my biggest surprise is I was really thinking Nina Moser would be, and her teams would be a stronger contention this Grand Prix final, or this at least the start half of this season. Tarasova and Morozov have qualified, not necessarily convincingly. I think they set a personal best in their short program at Skate America, and then had struggles in the long, particularly with the opening of the quad twist, and then those challenges sort of
the awkward getting picked up from the quad twist.
Yeah, not pretty.
That was not a pretty moment.
That's a shame, because this team is outstanding, and I think really could be the next big thing coming out of Russia. So it'll be interesting to see if they're able to turn things around.
Yeah, I think they sometimes get in their own way. They definitely had a much better second Grand Prix, and they were very fortunate at Skate America. They had an awesome short program, so that saved them. I mean, they were very convincingly the bronze medalists by several points, but that free skate was like that was rough. Like there were about like four major errors in that free skate, and that opening twist was a very good example of like the risk you take when doing a quad and how it can rattle you for the rest of the program.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the quad. I never want to see someone fall or have a mishap on the quad twist, and you don't see that element very much, and you don't see errors with that element all that much.
Because there's the catch.
When Skimeka and Knierim, had the challenge last year at the Grand Prix Final after great success with the quad twist, it really reminded us, or recalibrated me anyways, as a skating fan, this is tough. This is a tough element, even though it's frequently landed, with finesse. It's not simple Simon, and you can't just always go on autopilot and get that thing landed.
Yeah, you need perfect timing on it to get the pop up in the air, because other than like if you don't, then there's absolutely no way you can save it, because a lot of the falls caused by a quad twist is when the woman is trying to stop her rotational momentum because she's just on a quad, and she hits the ice, and then she's still rotating, and the man is to catch her. But if she's still like going through that rotational momentum, it's really hard to stabilize her.
Sure.
And let's not forget, you're doing it up. He's turning around halfway, like does a half turn to catch her, and you're still moving in that direction.
Yeah.
So it can be a very awkward. While the catch might seem like it should make
more secure.
It like. You almost think that every twist should be landed perfectly because you're catching them. They don't have to actually land. Yeah,
right? And I think Skate America was really their event to win, and then make a statement at the beginning of the Grand Prix series and carry on. No disrespect to Julian and Charlie, who did win it. I think the mistakes by the Russians really opened the door for them. Yeah. Unfortunately, they couldn't capitalize on the success of Skate America later in the season, but that finish at Skate America was fantastic. They capitalized on the chemistry that they have, their new side-by-side triple loop attempts in the short program, which shows that they are not just sort of stagnating, and they're not complacent. They're looking to move up in the rankings, and they're going to compete with Duhamel and Radford, who are doing the side-by-side Lutzes. So they say, all right, we'll take it up a notch too.
Well, that was super impressive. So Segma and Bilodeau, congratulations on your Grand Prix win. They kind of had a little bit of an issue in Ross Telecom where they absolutely bombed, and they're very fortunate to make the Grand Prix final. I mean, with some they were the 6th ranked team, and now they're the 5th ranked team, but. They were very, very fortunate after that their second Grand Prix event. But their first one was really good. They do 3 different side-by-side triples, and no other team is. They do the loop, the Sakha, and the toe, and no other team is doing that. I mean, Duhamel and Radford have done various types of triples before, except the loop, I believe. But in terms of right now, they're showing that they have a versatility to their skill set, and they're trying to improve. And I find the programs have a little bit more maturity this year, whereas before they were kind of a little more whimsical. So I'm curious to see how they broke 200. I'm curious to see how that will play out in the Grand Prix final. I think they have a shot to win a medal for sure. I think they might even win silver. And to see a Canadian 1-2 in pairs would be quite something. But I think the Chinese teams will definitely give Segma and Bilodeau a run for their money. And, of course, we have the 6th place finisher, Natalia Zabizhako and Alexander Enbert of Russia, who are very much a surprise.
Totally.
But they
made a statement.
They made a statement. They're very consistent. I mean, their programs don't quite excite me yet. They're kind of fresh and new to the senior ranks. So it's, but for them to have such a meteoric rise in the absence of the other Russian teams, this bodes well for them because come the Olympics, I don't know what's going on with Sharantrankov and Stropov and Klimov. You're going to get people who are trying to establish themselves as the third team to watch, especially with Kavaguti and Smirnov having a disastrous Grand Prix series. I mean, I know they have injuries and stuff, but her side-by-side jumps are just absolutely failing them, and it's really hard to see because it's like they're hanging by a thread to make it to the Olympics, and I don't know. I'm very doubtful of that. I want to have faith in them, but it's just hard to see when there are up-and-coming pairs like Zabajako and Enberg who are just willing to just snatch like a Grand Prix final spot. And just in regards to the other pairs, Lyubov Ilishechkina and Dylan Moskovich had a great Grand Prix season. They had 2 bronzes. Well, great is kind of relative. In Skate Canada, I love them, and I think even Dylan knows this, but like they were kind of gifted the bronze, and that was a squeaker, and it's not like Denny and Fraser had a great free skate themselves, but I think home ice kind of like even Dylan was like, okay, I guess we'll take. It was like Jeffrey Bottle when he won 4 continents, or like that he's like, all right, okay, I guess I won. Yeah. So it was kind of cute to see that reaction. And then in their second Grand Prix event, they had a chance to make the Grand Prix final, but they didn't. But in retrospect, it's like they kind of were gifted the Skate Canada bronze, so to have even had a shot was like great for them, and to get 2 bronzes, like that shows progress for this team.
And the bronze medal that I was particularly thrilled about was James and Cyprès from France, who finally broke through, made it onto the podium at a Grand Prix series.
Their free skate was hot. That was
fantastic.
Free skate,
great music, so soulful, suits them to a T. I love the fact that they're switching things up. They switched to John Zimmerman, new coach. They, clearly saw, and Vanessa James is hungry. Like she's got that Megan Duhamel hunger.
Yeah.
She was aware that look, we are plateauing in 10th place at the World Championships.
Yeah, we need to
mix things up, and they've done that, and they've made strides as a result. And I think there's only good things to come as the season goes on.
I hope for that too. And Denny and Fraser also impressed me as well with their second place finish at Skate America, and then right up afterwards where they. Like I said, if Ilishechkina and Moskovich had been dropped to 4th and Denny and Fraser got the bronze, they would be in the Grand Prix final. So that's a huge progress for them, and to set themselves up as most definitely the number 1 U.S. team this year with like Schemek and Knierim out and Kane and O'Shea kind of having their struggles. That'll set up a really interesting U.S. nationals to see, because they also need to get 2 spots for Worlds as well. So it's hard. It's for the Olympics as well, so that's going to be an interesting battle to see. So that's kind of like there are more pairs out there, and we'll talk about them the rest of the season. But for the Grand Prix final, I think other than Duhamel and Radford's probably expected victory, there'll be a very interesting battle for the bronze and silver medals at the Grand Prix final. So I can't wait to see that, and I can't wait to see I think Segura and Bilodeau will bounce back after their second Grand Prix. I expect good things from them. So, well, fingers crossed.
Excellent. Well, thanks for watching this episode. Feel free to comment or chime in to our picks and our conversation. Follow us on Twitter as well, and head on over to Golden Skate for their discussion forums to continue the conversation even further. Thanks for watching.
Well, this pair is signing off.